Tonight, South Australia's aged care shame, the elderly Flurio man who's lost the will to live while waiting for help.
The SA town's still without power 4 days after a freak storm.
Also, an angry senator dragged out of the King's Speech as their Majesties visit the nation's capital.
Shock claims Adelaide nurses asked an anorexia patient for diet tips before her tragic death.
Her trunk's packed. Now a date is set for her arrival. Exclusive details on SA's incoming elephants.
And Port swings the axe. 5 players shown the door at Alberton.
Live from Adelaide, 7 News with Rosanna Mangiarelli and Will Goodings.
Good evening. A terminally ill Flurio man who's spent an agonising 10 months waiting for at-home care has told 7 News he's lost hope and has made the heart-wrenching decision to end his own life.
The 86-year-old's dying wish is to save other elderly Australians from a broken aged care system.
Black and blue from a recent fall, Cyril Toos says he's one of thousands let down by the country's aged care system.
There's now 70,000 people waiting for assistance, and the government just sits on their ass and do nothing.
The 86-year-old spent almost a year waiting for a home care package to assist him with basic tasks and help improve his quality of life. Instead, with every month that's passed, his health has deteriorated. Suffering from terminal heart and lung conditions, the former carer is receiving regular morphine for his pain.
You can't live like that. That's unfair. We don't deserve that in such a country as Australia.
Tired of waiting for help to arrive, he made the gut-wrenching decision to end his life on his own terms through the state's voluntary assisted dying scheme.
Because there is no hope. I don't want to live my life laying in a bed waiting for something to happen.
So my understanding is that family are contacted to see if he could, receive some sort of urgent reassessment, and they were told that if they did that, it could delay it even longer.
The federal government insists a reassessment won't increase a patient's wait time. The aged care department contacted Mr Toos today to work out how best to support him.
I would say if Mr Toos had the package in a timely manner, as he should have, he would probably be sitting at home now making himself a cup of tea.
Ashley Kanowski, 7 News.
The sheer magnitude of last week's storm's been laid bare as authorities scramble to get some outback towns reconnected to power.
Amelia joins us in the studio, and Amelia, a mammoth effort's underway.
Well, that's right. After Thursday's wild outback storms, the towns of Lee Creek and Hawker are still without power tonight, 5 nights on from the event. Many in the area are running their own generators, paying for fuel as they go, but others have lost business and had to throw out fresh produce, and some have even had to close, including the Hawker and Lee Creek schools. Now, they're all waiting on SA Power Networks for a temporary fix, and it's not far. Today, 4 semis loaded up with commercial generators and fuel made their way to Hawker first to at least get the lights on. But property owners have been asked to turn their solar panels off to keep the setup on an even keel.
We've lost about 19 towers through the Lee Creek line, which is probably unprecedented in South Australian history in terms of the number of towers that we've lost.
You sort of expect it up here when there's a bad storm. Probably what's let us down the most is the how slow Telstra and Optus were to get power to their towers. There should be some sort of backup so that we can still use our FPOS machines, etc.
Now, those toppled 50-metre electricity towers supply roughly 30,000 square kilometres of network in the outback. Electranet looks after that infrastructure and says teams are working around the clock to get them repaired and get towns off generators, but it's a process that could take many months. Will.
OK, thank you, Amelia. A former Scotch college boy accused of being part of a global crime syndicate has been released on bail. Let's cross live to police reporter Hannah Ford. Hannah, our cameras were there as he walked out with his lawyer.
That's right, Will. Jack Sawyer, an Adelaide man about town, is now free after spending more than a month behind bars. With his head down and wearing the country road jumper he was arrested in, the 33-year-old was led out of the remand centre. Sawyer was arrested on September 17 as part of nationwide raids by federal police investigating a criminal messaging app called Ghost. The former car salesman was first South Australian taken into custody after officers allegedly seized $150,000 cash and 3 kilos of methamphetamine from his Henley Beach home. While Sawyer has been prominent on Adelaide's social scene, today he remained silent. Jack, what do you know about the Ghost app? Sawyer is yet to plead to charges of trafficking and commercial quantity of drug and dealing in proceeds of crime. He'll remain on home detention bail until his next court appearance in April. Rosanna.
Thank you, Hannah. King Charles has received a welcome to Canberra to remember, being sneezed on by an alpaca and yelled at by an angry senator.
But overall, the crowds were big and enthusiastic, with many even getting the chance to meet the monarchs.
The King in the capital, at the front of Parliament House, fronting the troops to take the salute as a 21-gun variety was fired in his honour. Day 4 of his whistle-stop tour, and in Canberra, controversy after reviewing the troops outside. King Charles and Queen Camilla, guests of honour at a formal parliamentary reception, welcomed with both an Indigenous arrivals ceremony and national anthem rendition. The King's speech an offer of gratitude and thanks.
In my many visits to Australia, I have witnessed the courage and hope that have guided the nation's long and sometimes difficult journey towards reconciliation.
But the moment he finished, controversial Senator Lydia Thorpe began. The crossbench senator's outburst infuriating many. She shouted Charles was not her king. The King and Queen appeared calm as security led her out of the Great Hall, leaving their Majesties to meet and greet a gathering of great Australians. Legend Olympian Jess Fox, adventurer Dick Smith, former Governor-General Peter Cosgrove, all honoured to meet their Majesties. But it was nothing like the reception they'd get from the public crowds today. This was the scene as they arrived at the Australian War Memorial. For some, it was almost religious.
Oh, look, but we did come out! Okay. That was so exciting.
Inside the memorial, more sombre moments as their Majesties laid wreaths, flowers and paused to remember the sacrifice of Australia's armed forces. They also walked along the Roll of Honour, and of the 103,000 fallen, choosing 2 to place a poppy beside. First World War soldiers William James Johnson and William Punch. Yeah. Outside, the memorial roads were packed, around 4,000 people and 1 alpaca. This is Hefner, and there's theories he's a Republican. Hefner had just sneezed on the King.
So he doesn't have great royal manners.
No, for sure, but look, as they say, never work with children and animals.
At least he was dressed respectfully.
Hefner is wearing a bow tie, he's wearing a little jacket here, and he's also got a crown.
As for King Charles, he didn't seem to mind.
It sneezed on me. I've got a shot. I was in Nepal years ago, an elephant sneezed on me. That's not a good idea.
The rest of the crowd far more polite.
Long live the King!
Through ever-present phones, the royal superfans chanted.
I got to shake his hand. It was a dream come true,
So you shook his hand? How does that feel? Incredible. Never washing it.
In total, King Charles carried out 10 separate engagements today, plus these public meet and greets. The British media say this is, today, by far the most intense and demanding schedule since his cancer diagnosis in February.
Everywhere he went, the 75-year-old in constant high spirits.
Nice and sunny for you. Bit hot?
It's sunnier than Sydney.
Not like yesterday at their harbourside home, where the royal couple had enjoyed the Sydney sunshine at the end of the day, like any normal tourists, sunbaking, relaxing, taking in the majesty of an Australian spring day. Chris Reason, 7 News.
Well, let's go live to Chris Reason in Canberra now. And Chris, where are the King and Queen now?
Well, Rosanna, the King has left the capital a short time ago. He arrived at Fairbairn Air Base, the two of them. They boarded their plane and they're now heading back to Sydney mid-air as we speak after what's been a very busy day. They also had meetings with the Prime Minister, the opposition leader, discussions on climate change, domestic violence, bushfires. And of course we had that incident with the alpaca and being shouted at by Lydia Thorpe. They'll no doubt be looking forward to getting back to the pool next to the harbour there at their new harbourside home, Admiralty House. Rosanna?
All right, thank you very much, Chris.
A stolen car and 3 firearms have been seized during a weekend police operation north of Adelaide. Some of the weapons are suspected to have been stolen. 2 men and a woman have been charged.
Vintage cars worth $1 million have been destroyed in a devastating fire near Mount Compass. Flames tore through the shed just before 1 this afternoon. Inside were treasured vehicles, including a Model T Ford. No one was injured and the cause is being investigated.
The father of an Adelaide woman who took her own life after battling anorexia claims hospital nurses asked his gravely ill daughter for diet tips. He's told an inquest into her death patients with eating disorders in South Australia aren't taken seriously.
Bright and highly intelligent, 24-year-old Jenny Matters lost her battle with anorexia in 2021. She weighed just 29 kilos.
She was a wonderful person that was suffering a horrible disease.
Before taking her own life at Belair, Jenny Matters wrote to her GP describing her treatment as bull. They put you in hospital, fatten you up for 2 months, discharge you and wait for the cycle to repeat. The court heard patients have to wait months for hospital treatment. In Jenny's case, by the time a bed became available, she no longer wanted it and it was too late. Mr Matters has begged for anorexia to be treated as a life-threatening disease rather than a lifestyle choice and claims to have heard nurses say to his gravely ill daughter, "You're very skinny. Any diet tips? What's your secret?" And to a fellow nurse, "The anorexic in the corner, you need to watch her eat. It's an hour in your day you won't get back."
It's a devastating disease and it's treated so very differently to the resources and treatment of other physical health conditions.
The coroner was told there are only 6 eating disorder beds in the whole of South Australia, with more than double the number of people suffering from this disorder at any one time. The inquest will investigate whether the resources are adequate. Deanna Williams, 7 News.
An iconic McLaren Vale winery's fallen into administration after losing millions of dollars in a botched US export deal. But Fox Creek is determined this won't spell the end.
It's been an award-winning South Australian drop for 20 years, but now Fox Creek is facing an upstream battle.
I won't lie, it's been a really challenging 3 years.
COVID restrictions, Chinese tariffs and now the cost of living crisis have all played a part, but the director says it was ultimately a botched US export deal that was the final nail in the coffin.
Unfortunately, our importer over there didn't have the capability that they'd communicated with us. They didn't have the licensing.
Most of the cases of wine earmarked for sale are still sitting in a US warehouse. 7 News understands it's left an almost $3 million hole. Fox Creek having no choice but to call in administrators.
The underlying business is strong, but beneath all that, this issue in the US has really hurt us.
Fox Creek is adamant this does not spell the end of an iconic South Australian brand, but it is counting on support. It hopes over summer the local community can rally around it.
It's important that, as an industry, we get behind each other, and then importantly, consumers out there, when they get the chance, make sure you buy some great South Australian wines.
An upstream fight, but they're not without a paddle. For now, it's business as usual. Jasmine Turlings, 7 News.
A burn-off that got out of control threatened a Waterloo Corner property this morning. Fuelled by strong northerly winds, the flames came dangerously close to the Wilson Street house before fire crews intervened. CFS volunteers spent several hours on site mopping up any flare-ups.
The The Premier's met with anxious steel workers in Whyalla as it scrambles together a contingency plan to save the industry and guarantee the town's future. Locals are pleading with the government to intervene, warning young workers are now considering leaving in droves.
Amid the swirling smoke of Whyalla, a worrying feeling of deja vu.
It's not the first hill we've had to climb. However, we are still climbing.
The Premier and his cabinet in town for crisis talks with workers and the union amid growing concerns about the future of the steelworks.
They are a useful and powerful source of truth of what is happening on the ground.
It follows revelations a steelworks operator GFG Alliance is in financial strife, failing to pay its contractors thousands of dollars and falling behind in state royalty payments.
It's up to GFG to honour some commitments.
That's on top of what's already been a rough year. A major blast furnace going offline not once but twice, while in August 50 administrative jobs were cut.
The community, as always, is sticking together and supporting each other, but it does take its toll.
None of these issues will be solved overnight, which means more uncertainty not only for the workers at the steelworks, but also for the businesses in town.
You look at young ones here, and they've got to the stage, a lot of them are thinking, well, do we sell and leave?
I think Whyalla's pretty resilient. They've bounced back from downturns before.
While in further trouble, it's now been revealed Whyalla doesn't have enough gas to get the Upper Spencer Gulf hydrogen plant up and running.
It's all good for the Premier to fly the cabinet up there, but what the people of South Australia need is they need some answers for the people of Whyalla.
The government is seeking advice on what to do if GFG Alliance falls into voluntary administration. Michaela Kamarek, 7 News.
A police officer has been punched in the face during a violent disturbance at a Whyalla home. 3 armed men smashed windows and security cameras at a Bradford Street property around 9 o'clock yesterday morning before fleeing in a stolen silver Honda. Police say 2 of the suspects were arrested at a nearby home. The 3rd accomplice remains on the run after ramming a patrol car with the stolen vehicle.
Channel 9 has now confirmed multiple independent investigations are underway into allegations of bullying and sexual harassment within 9 News and elsewhere in the organisation. It comes after a report released last week found a raft of shocking cases of abuse. That report only sparked more anger among 9 employees for not naming and punishing the perpetrators. And today, one former staffer claimed she was raped by a manager, but it was never reported to police.
Qantas could be forced to pay up to $100 million in compensation to 1,700 baggage handlers illegally sacked during COVID lockdowns. After years of fighting the claims, the airline has now apologised while admitting it needs to do better.
Sacked Qantas staff say this is the spirit of Australia.
What a win! Here we are, ordinary Australian workers. What a victory.
1,700 workers to share more than $100 million in compensation after the largest illegal sacking in Australian corporate history.
I love my job. I love working at Qantas. I expected to be there till I retired, and when this happened, it was an absolute shock.
After considering 3 test cases, the federal court found the former ground workers are entitled to $30, $40 or $100,000 each, 4 years after they were let go at the height of the pandemic.
We will now make sure that we hold Qantas to account to make sure that every cent of that money that these people are owed gets into their back pockets.
Qantas says it accepts today's ruling and will now work with the union to expedite the payouts. CEO Vanessa Hudson apologising to sacked staff, saying the onus is now on the airline to learn from this.
The airline still faces penalties, the union pushing for a $100 million fine.
To deter not only it, but any other companies thinking about union busting on a grand scale. This should be worth more than $200 million when all is said and done.
Amelia Brace, 7 News.
All right, time to check in with Soder on what's coming up in sports, Soder.
Oh, guys, the axe has been swung at Alberton that time of the year. It's very, very tough for some players, and a handful of them have been cut today, including a 100-gamer who's still on contract. United they stand. Well, bitter rivals come together for a great cause. And Aussie maestro Steve Smith fails with the bat as he prepares for a huge Indian summer. All that and plenty more coming up soon in sport.
We'll catch you then, Soda. 3 South Australian police officers have been recognised for their extraordinary acts of bravery. That's next.
Also, Lord of the Fries, why Donald Trump's turned up to work a shift at McDonald's.
Emotional vigils across the UK to honour a former One Direction star.
And B double blow, the race to contain a smoking truck on the busy southeastern freeway.
3 South Australian police officers who risked their own lives during 2 of the most harrowing incidents in police history have been recognised for their extraordinary acts of bravery.
Each individual put themselves in the line of fire to try and save their fellow colleagues.
It's the brutal killing that shocked the state. Jason Doig shot dead on a remote property at Senior in the state's southeast.
It's alleged this man, Jaden Stimpson, ambushed the brevet sergeant, his colleague Michael Hutchinson and 3rd Officer Rebecca Cass.
The 2 officers tried desperately to save their colleague. They're now being commended for their bravery in November last year. After hearing gunfire, Senior Constable Cass didn't run from danger. Instead, she went straight into the house. The Police Commissioner praising her selfless act.
She's recognised for putting herself at risk to assist her fellow officers.
Wounded himself, Sergeant Hutchinson still provided aid to his mate.
Maintaining composure in an incredibly difficult and stressful situation, having been shot himself in the incident.
Jordan Allerley didn't think twice when he stepped in to help fellow officer Ian Todd, who was violently attacked by Sean Ferris at Crystalbrook in May 2023.
The 53-year-old with critical injury stabbed in the neck when a routine inquiry turned extremely violent.
Jordan was also stabbed when he intervened, a courageous act that will never be forgotten. The officers each receiving the Police Bravery Medal.
All 3 officers have demonstrated bravery in confronting dangerous and stressful situations with the ultimate aim of ensuring the community's safety and the safety of their fellow officers.
Mitchell Sariovsky, 7 News.
A truck driver was forced to stop his B-double on the busy southeastern freeway this morning, fearing his rig was about to burst into flames. He noticed smoke billowing from the engine bay near the Crafers exit just after 9:30. Fire crews discovered the smoke was caused by a fuel leak, but luckily it didn't ignite.
Fans of One Direction singer Liam Payne have held vigils across the UK. Hundreds gathered in London's Hyde Park to pay tribute to the 31-year-old who fell from a hotel balcony in Argentina last week. The crowd singing their favourite One Direction songs and leaving behind flowers and messages of grief.
Donald Trump caused a McFlurry today when he turned up for work at a McDonald's, apron and all. And it came with a big serving of insults for his presidential rival, Kamala Harris.
If you don't mind, I want to work the French fry counter.
In 2.5 weeks, he could be America's president-elect. For now, he's Lord of the Fries.
Never touches the human hand.
Very good.
Nice and full.
Donald Trump at a Pennsylvania McDonald's. Why? Rival Kamala Harris claimed she cooked fries for the burger giant 40 years ago. Now, Trump is calling her out.
In other words, she's lying, Kamala.
No comment from McDonald's as crowds turned out to applaud Trump and Harris at a Baptist church in Georgia. Today, her 60th. This as Democrats suggest billionaire Elon Musk may be breaking the law as he tries to get Donald Trump elected. Musk is offering Pennsylvania voters who sign a pro-Trump petition on gun rights and free speech a chance to win the equivalent of $1.5 million.
Every day from now until the election.
Donald Trump should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States.
Though behind the drive-through window today, he was quite at home.
Look at that, look at that. How are you? Thank you, Mr. President. Nice to see you. Hi, darling. How are you?
In the United States, Tim Lester, 7 News.
Well, closer to home, and it's been another warm spring day across Adelaide.
Amelia joins us with the details. And Amelia, it was warmer than expected today too.
Well, we hit a top of 33.4 degrees in the city today. Parrotfield was just shy of 35, with temperatures as much as 12 degrees above average across S8 today. Now, they had the sprinklers on at the Botanic Garden this morning, with many getting some water on the garden, with some dry days on the way this week. Now, we've seen a high pressure system directing warmer northerly winds our way, bumping up the temperature, but an incoming change just here will lead to another balmy night before delivering a milder day tomorrow. Rosie and Whyalla have more on that in the forecast a little later.
Look forward to it. Thank you, Amelia. Now, her trunk's packed and her new home's just about move-in ready. Next, we reveal when you can meet Monato's giant new resident.
Plus, cutting out friends to save pennies, how the cost of living's ending relationships, the surprising research.
Australian scientists in an ambitious bid to restore movement in patients with paralysis.
And pop icon Cher turns back time with a new Hall of Fame honour.
7 News can give you an exclusive look at the home being built for South Australia's 5 new Asian elephants.
The first to arrive at Monato will be Burma, and while she'll be stomping on SA soil within weeks, her new fans may have to wait until Christmas to see her.
Across the ditch, an Australian-inspired cake for Burma, the birthday girl. Not just counting years, counting down the days until her big move.
What a way to celebrate a 42nd, a 50-kilogram cake, followed by a 2-hour physiotherapy and a warm bath.
Burma, the now 42-year-old Asian elephant, currently residing in New Zealand and about to call Australia home in 3 to 4 weeks.
It's brilliant to see just more animals coming here, and yeah, I can't wait to have a look. I've never seen one, so I'm very excited.
We haven't been to Monato yet, so already planning a trip.
Her new home at Monato awaits her. The view from the sky shows just how busy the construction team has been. Frantically getting the barn ready, this is where she'll complete her 4-week quarantine. Once it's over, she can finally explore the plains.
I was amazed at this area that they were creating for the elephants to come.
It's now got heating in place, there'll be misters, solar power went in just recently, and the first of the water holes is actually now getting some water into it.
Unlike the pandas, who can be in quarantine and still be seen, Burma can't. This means the South Australian public may not be able to see her until just before Christmas.
We'll wait, we've waited this long, so we'll wait a bit longer.
Burma will live on her own for a while. Her 4 future herdmates from Perth and Sydney won't join her until mid-next year. Casey Trelaw, 7 News.
It was slow going for South Road commuters during this morning's peak after a nasty bus crash. A tradies ute collided with the bus near Flinders Drive just after 7:30, causing half-hour delays for motorists. The Mitsubishi was a write-off, but luckily no one was injured. Emergency services took an hour to clean up the mess.
It was a short but eventful day for the King and Queen in Canberra today. Charles addressed cost of living, his early life in Australia and the strength of the Commonwealth.
Lydia Thorpe's attempt to hijack the reception saw the outspoken senator dragged from the Great Hall.
A shining moment in Parliament's marble foyer, signing the visitors' book in the building his mother opened in 1988. In the Great Hall, a collection of great Australians from politics, sport, the arts and business.
Since your first visit in 1966, you have been taken into Australian hearts, just as you have taken us into yours.
The King responding with a gift, giving the government's cost of living policies royal approval.
Australia's economic growth has been remarkable.
Praising Australia's growth as a multicultural society, but noting the big continuing challenge.
I have witnessed the courage and hope that have guided the nation's long and sometimes difficult journey towards reconciliation.
How difficult? Soon obvious. Independent Senator Lydia Thorpe wearing a possum skin coat, insistent, insulting. She'd been moved on earlier from the War Memorial, continuing her protest outside Parliament.
We don't need a king from another country to dictate to us what we do here.
Despite the disturbance inside, the Republicans' hopes that this visit might add new momentum to their movement have largely failed. The overwhelming sentiment here is one of goodwill towards the monarch. Opposition leader Peter Dutton making a dry observation.
People have had haircuts, people have shined shoes, suits have been pressed, and
That's just the Republicans.
As the Republic movement courts controversy, calling it a farewell tour.
It is bad taste, particularly given the King's ill health. It's more or less saying we won't be seeing you again.
It's monarchy that we're farewelling. It's time to wave goodbye.
The only waves today, waves of adulation. Mark Riley, 7 News.
A world-first trial to restore movement in patients with paralysis here in Australia. Those details are next on 7 News.
Also, the sunscreen claiming to help produce vitamin D.
And how the cost of living crisis is ending friendships. The shock findings.
Tonight's edition of The Nightly is out now. Australia's only digital newspaper to drop nightly. Free to your device every weeknight. Spend your night wisely at thenightly.com.au.
Cells taken from a patient's nose could be used to treat spinal injuries in a revolutionary technique developed here in Australia. Human trials are about to begin, offering hope to millions worldwide.
In 2023, Joseph Ponu was touted as footy's one to watch, being scouted by the Titans and on track for his athletic star to rise. One moment in time changed this talented footballer's life forever.
I was playing a trial match against the Brisbane Broncos and I collided with a goalpost trying to make a tackle. I became a C3 quadriplegic.
A life-changing injury on the field for Joseph, but thanks to a team of researchers right here in Australia, the trajectory of his life looks set to pivot again.
We are announcing the launch of a cell transplantation trial to treat spinal cord injury.
Joseph's part of this world first, a trial that uses cells from a person's nasal cavity selected for their multifunctional ability.
It's the only part of the nervous system where you've got these professional cells that clean up an injury site and promote regeneration.
What you're looking at, these little worm-like structures, these are the nerve bridges, effectively grown from the cells at the back of someone's nose. They're unique to the person and they take 24 hours to grow.
It's revolutionary and one the scientists know is vital to get right.
It's been a combination of discovery and translation. That changed the way we did research.
The trial will accept 30 participants and kicks off in 2025. This innovation gives hope to those like Joseph living with spinal cord damage in an area where treatment has seemed impossible. They can now look forward to a new year full of hope. Nats Levy, 7 News.
Two Australian brothers are revolutionising skincare for men. Zach and Bo London have designed a world-first sunscreen that still allows the body to produce vitamin D to encourage young tradies to slip, slop, slap.
You go to a trade site and they'd look 80 and they'd actually turn out to be 40. And I'm like, I don't look like that when I'm older. Well, things should be right, and then just something bad's happening, like, oh damn, wish I could have done something earlier.
Australian men are twice as likely as women to develop skin cancer.
Taking a look at finance now, the ASX 200 has closed up 61 points. Higher gold and iron ore prices pushed up miners, while WiseTech Global plunged over controversy surrounding billionaire founder Richard White. One Australian dollar is currently buying 66.96 US cents.
Legendary entertainer Cher has been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Dua Lipa joining the 78-year-old to open the show with her classic Believe. Cher has sold more than 100 million records worldwide, making her one of the best-selling musical artists of all time.
It's time for sport now. Soda, a handful of players at Alberton have been showed the door.
Yeah, tough time of the year for those sort of boys. Coming up, we're going to tell you who's on the outer, including a veteran who's still under contract. As a big summer of cricket approaches, an Aussie batting maestro fails to have an impact. And a turn for the worst. Lando Norris cracks under the Texan pressure. Hello again. Well, Port Adelaide has made some tough list calls with 5 players shown the door today. Let's go to Josh Money with all the details. And Josh, a contracted player is among the group.
Yeah, that's right, Soda. Tom Cleary has been starved of opportunity at AFL level, playing just the one game in the past 2 years. And the 30-year-old did have a contract for next year, but the clubs agreed to pay him out and give the defender a shot at landing a spot on another AFL list. Now, as 7 News revealed last week, Quinton Narkle and Francis Evans have also both been delisted after 16 and 27 games over the past 2 years, respectively, for the club. Both played in Port's prelim final loss to the Swans, and Narkle could still get a lifeline at Fremantle, with the Dockers looking at giving the 26-year-old a rookie spot. Now, untried forwards Tom Scully and Kyle Marshall have both also been cut. It's always a tough time of the year, but some good news tonight. 7 News understands the Indigenous All-Stars will make a return this summer for the first time in 10 years. They'll play a one-off game against Freo at Optus Stadium with more than 40,000 fans expected. And Dockers recruit Shea Bolton, well, he may well end up having to play against his new team. Either way, Soda, I'm sure it'll be one heck of a show.
Absolutely, Josh. Thank you, mate. Now, the Crows and Port Adelaide are dreaming of the first ever AFLW showdown in a final. The clubs came together today to launch Indigenous Round.
Two rivals who often come face to face, but rarely with a common goal.
A proud moment for all of us to be able to go out there and just celebrate who we are.
Midfielder Jasmine Stewart designed the Powers Guernsey, reflecting on her family's generational story.
I got actually quite teary seeing it printed and being able to hold it.
Drawing on inspiration from the Powers' 04 AFL Premiership, the girls hope it's a sign of what's to come. While flying as one, the Crows will wear superstar Isaac Rankin's creation.
It's really special that we look as one coming into rounds like this.
There's only ever been one final showdown, and that was nearly 20 years ago. But with the Power on the verge of its first appearance on the AFLW's biggest stage, history could be about to repeat.
Yeah, that'll be a huge moment for SA to have two teams playing off against each other.
And while the Crows jumper looks great, Crow star Chelsea Randall's eye doesn't.
Just wanted to say, I hope you have a great day.
Randall's been cleared of a serious injury and is a test to face ladder leaders North on Friday night. Andrew Hayes, 7 News.
Look nasty now. Aussie star Steve Smith has struggled in his first outing of the summer against the Red Bull. Test coach Andrew McDonald was at the MCG where a number of players tried to press their case for the series opener against India.
Off last week's Twin Tons, with a vacancy in the Aussie top order, Sam Constas charged into the spotlight, just survived his first ball but was trapped by Scott Boland for 2.
Oh, that one's very close, and it is out!
Not the first or last to succumb to the mayor of the MCG, Steve Smith scratched around for a 29-ball 3.
Is there a tickle? There is!
I actually felt pretty good out there, to be honest, for the 3 that I scored. Strangely enough, but I felt like I was moving well, I was leaving well.
The Blues fell for 136, half Victoria's first innings total. Up in Brisbane, Usman Khawaja made an 11-ball duck against South Australia. Marnus Labuschagne, 22 off 57 balls. Smith also confirmed he's dropping from opener to number 4 at Marnus and Khawaja's insistence.
They didn't like it at all. They wanted some security, I suppose, behind them, where I've done really well for a number of years, and I can understand that, I suppose, as well.
The stark reality.
Oh, that one's knocked him over!
Australia's bowlers have plenty on their broad shoulders for another summer. The great left armour is up and going. Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
Yeah, and in that Shield clash in Brisbane, SA and Queensland are neck and neck at the end of day 2. The Bulls were all out for 308 after the South Aussies posted 314. In their second dig, the visitors are 1 for none. Henry Hunt couldn't back up his first innings heroics. He was out for a golden duck. Well, Lando Norris's hopes of a maiden Formula One world title continue to fade. He started from pole at the US Grand Prix, but lost the lead in his McLaren at the first corner.
Down the inside, though, goes Max Verstappen. Lando Norris gets forced wide. Through goes the Ferrari. It's Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, Charles Leclerc went on to win. Max Verstappen finished 3rd, extending his lead in the World Championship race to 57 points. Norris dropped to 4th. Oscar Piastri was 5th. And Manchester City trailed Wolves inside 7 minutes before a long-range stunner got them back level.
Gvardiol to hit. Oh, and what a hit it is too! A gorgeous goal from Joško Gvardiol.
Yeah, very nice. Now, John Stones struck in the 95th minute to snatch a 2-1 win for the 4-time reigning champion. City is now a point behind Liverpool on the table after they beat Chelsea 2-1. And Aussie Hannah Green has taken out the BMW Ladies Championship, emulating a feat last achieved by her mentor, Kari Webb. Now she's become our first golfer since 2006 to win 3 LPGA Tour events in the one season.
I was hoping I would have more of a tap in, but I like to make things interesting. But yeah, just super proud of myself.
Yeah, you should be. Green collects almost $500,000 for the win. That is very nice indeed. You see Lando Norris driving there in Texas. I've actually sat next to our own Bruce Abernathy in the navigator's seat in a race car in the rally, and he can drive better than what Lando Norris did, take corners better. So maybe we should see Abba.
It's funny, Abba tells the exact same story.
Well, you know, it must be true when there's consistency in the tails.
I think that's
Have a great night.
It's got to be
Good on you,
true.
Soda. Thank you. More Australians are putting a price on friendship, with social circles slashed to save some coin.
So more are going to fewer events or skipping them altogether due to the rising cost of living.
From weekend brunches to weddings, for many, socialising is starting to feel like a luxury.
Everyone's a lot tighter and a lot more conscious of what they're spending.
Definitely a lot more conscious of the rising costs.
And it's putting social lives on ice. Aussies cutting costs by cutting company.
Almost half of Australians have done something within their friend group to mitigate costs at the moment.
Swapping fancy nights out for frugal nights in, and it's the younger generation leading the way.
Gen Z and millennials, it's about 1 in 10 have cut out friends.
Just 2% of baby boomers have axed a pal, instead choosing to keep friends close.
From park catch-ups to movie nights at home, there are still plenty of ways to stay social without breaking the bank. And for big events, experts say budgeting is key.
It's about getting into those financial habits and really having that financial goal in mind so that you can continue to enjoy those moments with your friends.
Track spending and automate savings to keep finances in check and friendships afloat. Georgia Holland, 7 News.
Going for a browse at the local grocer without leaving the couch. Next, the South Aussie aged care residents who had the market come to them.
And after a warm one in the city today, we've got some milder temperatures on the way this week. I'll be back with all the details in the forecast up next.
For Adelaide's latest news and more, tune in to Will Goodings and David Pemberthy on 5AA Breakfast tomorrow morning. Alrighty, time for more on the weather now, and Amelia joins us again in the studio.
And Amelia, after a warm one today, it's back to regular programming tomorrow.
Well, it might be hard to believe given the last week or so, but the average maximum temperature for October is actually around 21 degrees. Much higher than that today, though. We just topped 33, following an overnight low of 13. Right now, it's still sitting around the 30-degree mark outside. Now, it was a dry day across the state with top temperatures well above average. They range from 39.5 degrees to 21.8 at Neptune Island. Now, cooler conditions aren't far away, though, as a low-pressure trough moves in. Behind it, we've got a cooler southerly change. On Wednesday, a cold front is set to move across the south of us before another high-pressure system moves in on Thursday. Now, interstate tomorrow, a warm one in Melbourne ahead of the change, a top of 30 degrees on the way there. Mostly sunny and up to 23 in Sydney. 28, the forecast top for Brisbane. A shower on the way for Darwin, up to 34 there. Just a few clouds around in Perth tomorrow, 21 the top. Back home, the heat remains across our far north. A sunny top of 38 on the way for Murray and Moomba. Woomera is going for a top of 36 degrees. Cooper Pedy and Roxby Downs both going for a top of 37. Now, we could still see the odd shower developing in our west with that change, possibly extending across parts of the south during the day. So maybe a shower on the way for Ceduna tomorrow, up to 21 there. That's the top for Port Lincoln too. 30 on the way for Port Augusta, up to 24 in Whyalla, Clare and Nuriutpa. Top of 24 on the way for Kadina as well, which could see a late shower. A grey 19 expected in Victor Harbour, 20 the top for Mount Gambier, and a hot top of 36 on the way for Renmark. Now, in the city, a balmy night. We're not likely to drop lower than 17 degrees, then up to 24 tomorrow. With some cloud around, though, you can't rule out the odd shower, probably in the evening, thanks to that change. Now, on metro waters, we're looking at north to northeasterly winds to 15 knots, shifting south to southwesterly to 20 before dawn, with seas around the metre mark. Now, looking ahead, we're going for a sunny day on Wednesday, up to 21 then, 20 the forecast top Thursday, a mostly sunny day on Friday, up to 22 then, with the chance of a couple of showers on the way on Saturday, then we should dry out early next week. Now, before I go, let's take a look at tonight's ray of sunshine. It's the little things we take for granted that can go a long way, like a trip to the market. And thanks to Tony and Mark's, residents at Myrtle Bank's Carmelite Residential Care had the fruit and veg shop come to them.
Everything from avocados to onions to tomatoes. They're amazing. I've never seen an onion that big.
In true market style, the group got to taste, smell and touch produce, a trip down memory lane for many. Looks like a great day. I'd love to see that at some more residential care homes too, guys.
Yeah, it's a great idea and yum food. Thank you very much, Amelia. That is all the news to now. We'll have updates throughout the evening.
From all the Adelaide 17 for now, it is good night.
Good night.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want every minute of every day, including breaking news alerts. Download the 7 News app now.